Hello student, today we have to learn pollination, type of pollination and type of pollinating agent. First of all, what is pollination? Transfer of pollen grain from anther to stigma is called pollination. Why is pollination essential in the flowering plant? Or why is pollination is prerequisite for the fertilization? Because in flowering plant, both male gametes and female gametes are non-motile. Moreover, they also produce at different sites. Hence, the pollination is prerequisite for fertilization in flowering plant. Let us start with the type of pollination. Pollination categorized into the two types, self-pollination and cross-pollination. What about self-pollination? Self-pollination is the pollination in which transfer of pollen grain takes place from anther to stigma of same flower or a different flower of the same plant, known as self-pollination. Self-pollination also categorized into two types, that is autogamy and geitonogamy. What about autogamy? Autogamy is the type of self-pollination in which bisexual flower is pollinated by its own pollen grain, known as autogamy pollination. In autogamy pollination, the flower adopted various kind of the structural adaptation in the flower. Which is that adaptation? The adaptation like chasmogamous, bisexuality, homogamy and cleistogamy. Let us discuss about this adaptation which favors the autogamy or self-pollination. Chasmogamous flower. In this flower, this flower opens to expose its sex organ. This flower means the chasmogamous flower opens to expose its sex organ, and this condition facilitate for the autogamy. Then bisexuality. Male reproductive organ and female reproductive organ, that is stamens and stigma, both are present in a one flower. The flower is known as bisexual flower. This bisexuality is facilitated for the self-pollination or autogamy. So this is the also contrivances. Then homogamy. Homogamy means the maturation of male reproductive organ and female reproductive organ of flower at the same time. This condition is called homogamy, and this condition favors the self-pollination or autogamy process. Then cleistogamy. Cleistogamy means there is the pollination takes place, self-pollination takes place in the flower before the opening of flower in a closed condition. Then flower is open, condition is called cleistogamy. Here, underground cleistogamous flower also be present. This flower is are never opens. They are closed, and pollination also, self-pollination also takes place inside the closed condition. In some example, viola, then Comedina, there are two kind of the flower produced that follows the cleistogamy and chasmogamous flower. Both kind of the flower is present on the same plant. Okay, so this is the contrivances of the autogamy which favors the autogamy. So this is the autogamous flower or autogamy. Example is here pea plant flower, and the offspring produced by the autogamy is similar to their parents genetically identical to their parents. This is all about heterogamy. What about the geitonogamy? First of all, what is the geitonogamy? The transfer of pollen grain takes place from anther to stigma of the different flower of the same plant, known as the geitonogamy. Means here the plant is the same here, flower is the different, and this is the anther, this is the stigma. The pollen grain from this anther deposited to the stigma of the neighbor flower of the same plant. Process is known as the geitonogamy. Example is here Cucurbita maxima. Then this geitonogamy is functionally cross-pollination, functionally follow the cross-pollination, but genetically it is a self-pollination. It is belonging to the same plant, hence it is similar to the autogamy. Then next type of the pollination is the cross-pollination, in which genogamy is the present. What is the genogamy? The process of cross-pollination in which pollen grain deposited on a stigma of flower of different plant belonging to the same species. Condition is known as the genogamy. Here, the different flower of the different plant, but that plant species is the same, belonging to the same species. It is known as the genogamy, and it is a type of the cross-pollination. In this genogamy, cross-pollination, there are necessity of the external pollinating agent. Without there is a cross-pollination will not take place. And in this genogamy pollination, progeny will produce, that is a genetically dissimilar different variant. There is a need of the external pollinating agent required. There are the two kind of the pollinating agent, that is abiotic pollinating agent and biotic pollinating agent. It is classified on the basis of the living and non-living pollinating agent. First of all, abiotic agent. It is obviously non-living. Pollination takes place by the vine, known as the anemophily. It is non-living. Pollination takes place by the water in the aquatic plant, known as the hydrophily. It is also classified into the epihydrophily, hypohydrophily. Later on we discuss. Then another pollinating agent, the biotic agent. Obviously it is a living agent. It consists of entomophily. Pollination takes place by insect. Then ornithophily. Pollination takes place by bird. Then chiropterophily. Pollination takes place by bat. So this is all about the type of the pollinating agent.